No. um, my name is Jake. I'm 29 years old. I am from Mesa, Arizona. I was raised in a home where my mother and father were together. My mother was a very godly woman, like a powerfully godly woman, and she took me to church growing up. My father provided for us. He taught me a work ethic. He taught me discipline, but he wasn't really a friend to me. I never heard that I was loved by my father. He was just there. He just worked constantly and took care of discipline when it was needed. But I was raised going to church by my mother. And about middle school age, she kind of stopped forcing us to go. She let us choose for ourselves if we wanted to go. So naturally, I would not go with her. And as I got into my high school years, I was a very angry person. Like my father, I was a lot of rage. I was very angry. And I was also very isolated and lonely. People don't want to be around you when you're angry all the time. And so when I was in high school, I would steal a bottle of liquor from the store a day, and I would sell that for 15 grams of synthetic marijuana called Spice, which was really big back in the day. And I would smoke that almost every day, and I just numbed out because I didn't want to feel the loneliness or the isolation and just all of that stuff. So when I was 17, I got my first job at Red Lobster, and I actually reconnected with some old friends of mine from elementary school. And after work would get over, they would go out and party. They would drink, use drugs. And for the first time, I had friends, and I really, really enjoyed it. I really liked partying because made me social. I was connecting with people, and me and those two other guys were just a tight-knit group of guys. We had a lot of fun together. And so when high school got over, about 18, they grew up and started to do the adult thing and have families and work and careers, and I just wanted to keep partying. But the only people that were still partying were people that were doing meth and heroin and the harder drugs. So it was kind of just a natural progression. So when I was 18, I started doing meth, and it just grabbed me really quick. And so from about 18 to 24, on and off, just using meth. I would work, I would get cleaned up for a few months, make some money. Once I had a couple $1,000s saved up, I would just go blow it all on meth and partying. So that was my life until I stepped into the doors of Teen Challenge at 24. Teen Challenge is an amazing place. Let me tell you about how I met God. I'm sorry. When I was 17, my mother handed me a book called Crazy Love by Francis Chan. And I don't even know why I opened the book, because I didn't walk with God. I saw the reality of her walk with God growing up, but I didn't know God. And for some reason that I can't explain, I opened the first chapter of that book, and I cried out for help a few pages into it. And God met me in the most tangible way that I've ever experienced. There was a connection, and he was in the room with me, and I probably wept for 20 minutes. But I got clean for about 2 weeks after that. But I didn't know how to walk it out. I didn't understand grace. I just tried getting off of drugs because I had just met God, and I wanted to walk and serve him. But I didn't know how to do it, so within 2 weeks, I was back to using drugs. But I had that experience, and I knew God was real from that moment going forward. Nobody can ever take that from me, what I experienced. So I kept using drugs until I was 24. And at Teen Challenge is where I learned how to really walk with the Lord. I learned the disciplines of reading the Word of God, of praying, just everything that I wasn't doing out there. They kind of say that when you're using drugs, you stop maturing emotionally, because every time you get angry, you just get high. Every time you're lonely, you just get high. If you have a conflict, you just get high. It's what you do for everything. You don't learn how to mature and grow as a person. But Teen Challenge is where I could do that. It was a safe place. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have connection to the outside world, no money. I learned how to really walk with the Lord, and it was a safe place to do that and work through the stuff that was in me that needed to be changed. So I was very grateful, and for 4 years, I was clean off of drugs and alcohol. I moved back to Arizona, got a really good job, got plugged into a church called Two Rivers. If you're ever in Gilbert, Arizona, it's an amazing church. I got plugged into a young adults group, met a lot of really good people, and my life was just on an upward trajectory. And then I met a girl, and she was really godly, and I really liked her, and she was pretty. And I wanted to be with her, but I knew in my spirit that it wasn't what God had for me, but I kind of tried making it work anyway. And for about 2 years, we were on and off, and I was pursuing her, and the whole time, I kind of knew in my spirit that God, this isn't who he had for me. But like a bull, I just charged forward anyway, because it's what I wanted. When it finally was over, I kind of let her have the small groups. I kind of let her have all the friend group that we were a part of, and I isolated. I wasn't close to the people that I lived with as a roommate, so I just lost all of that community. And one day I got off of work, and I was just lonely, and I hit up some old using friends, and 6 months later, I was just deep into addiction. this is a really amazing testimony of what God did for me, because in my own mind, I had made up that I was going to use for the next few years and just get it all out of me, and then God could have me again and use me. But my mother, she's a praying woman, and she heard him say, "I'm sending out the troops." And within a week of her hearing that, I was in a meth-induced psychosis that I don't even remember, but I lost my phone, my wallet, and I got stabbed in my knee. And I was walking around on it for a couple days, and it got really infected, and it swelled up to like the size of a volleyball until I had to go to the hospital. So I got dropped off at the hospital with no phone, no wallet, no way to walk out and get high, and nobody knew where I was. My friend dropped me off, and that night he got arrested. And my dad had co-signed my car. So the cops were like, "Hey, there's a random guy in your car. We don't know where the owner is. Do you want to come pick it up?" And he said, "Sure." So he heard I was in the hospital. And the next thing I know, I woke up to family and people from my church in the hospital room, just loving me. And I knew it was God. He put all of those things in order. I literally couldn't do anything else but sit in a hospital room with people from my church that loved me, praying for me. And I'm here today because of those prayers. I didn't want to get clean. I was like, I have a couple years ahead of me of doing this. And God just stopped me short at 6 months and said, "Taking you back to Teen Challenge." So prayer is real. Pray for your loved ones, your family members, because that's why I'm here. I can testify to that without a shadow of a doubt. And so I had a friend. He moved up to Burien. He said, "Why don't you come back to Teen Challenge, get clean, and when you're done, you can live with me." So that's what I'm doing in the Puget Sound. Took a lot of humility to come back. I really did not want to come back to Teen Challenge, but I knew I needed help, and it was the only option that I had. But I'm so grateful that I'm here today. I'm alive, I'm clean, I'm sober, and I'm going after God. So thank you for your time.